Hi, I'm Lucy. Welcome to Go Stitch. Today we're going to start by choosing some fabric, then we'll trace the pattern and put our little quilt together. This is a great project for anyone learning to free motion quilt, and I'll show you how I would quilt it, but if you're not into free motion quilting, I'll show you how to get a similar result with a walking foot. You can pick up the pattern for this quilt over at gostitch.com.au. You'll find a course over there with full step-by-step instructions if you'd like a little bit more guidance, as well as a couple of other patterns that go with this Magnum, an Icy Pole and a Popsicle. So if you'd like a little bit more help after this video, or would just prefer to work with a printed pattern, don't worry, you'll find everything you need at Go Stitch. I'll put the link in the comments below. Let's get started. To make this project, you'll need the pattern, 2 A4 size pieces of white cotton, an A4 size piece of wadding, some fusible paper-backed adhesive and a pencil, 2 pieces of contrasting fabric, some sewing shears or scissors, some paper scissors, and a piece of brown cotton or linen for the stick. When you're printing the pattern, make sure you have the scale set to 100% or your pattern will be the wrong size. We start by tracing the pattern template pieces onto our fusible paper-backed adhesive with a pencil. Take your time and don't worry too much about creating an exact copy of the pattern. The natural variations you create will make your quilt unique. Plus, shapes tend to straighten out once you're cutting. Once you've traced your pattern pieces, use paper scissors to cut them out. Now, we need to iron our fusible adhesive onto our chosen fabric. Start by giving your fabric a quick iron to get rid of any pre-existing wrinkles. Then, take your time to audition your pieces if you're using pattern fabric. Move them around until you find a section you love. Then, with the steam turned off, iron your pattern piece onto the fabric. You'll want to take your time to ensure the piece is stuck down well. Once all your pattern pieces have been ironed onto your chosen fabric, it's time to cut them out. Use sewing scissors or shears to cut around the pattern lines you drew earlier onto your fusible adhesive. Smaller sewing scissors will also work well here, and can be useful if you're having trouble going around the tight corners. When you have all your pieces cut out, it's time to position them on fabric. To make things easier, use the positioning template I've included as part of the Lollipop's pattern. Print the template, then layer it on your ironing board underneath your white base fabric. Then, one piece at a time, you'll remove the paper backing and position each piece on top of the right spot on the template. If you're using dark fabric and can't see the template, you can use a light box and pin each piece once you've taken the fusible paper backing adhesive off. Or if you don't have a light box, you can simply take the template and your base fabric to a window. If you don't have the template, find the center of your base fabric by folding the piece in half and pressing with your finger. Repeat, and then use your eye to judge where the lollipop should go. We've finished putting our block together, so now it's time to quilt. First, you need to create your quilt sandwich. Take your backing piece of white cotton, then layer your wadding on top. Finally, place your block on top of the wadding. You don't need to use thick bed quality wadding for this project, and it's actually a great project for using up scraps, so if you have any left smaller than A4, go ahead and use them now. Next, we'll need to pin your layers together so they don't come apart before we can sew them. This is only a little project, so you don't need to go overboard, and I've just used flower head pins, but if you prefer you can use safety pins. Take a minute or two to prepare your machine for this project. I like to give mine a good clean before each project, but then change over your thread to one you've chosen. I've used a light linen colour for the lollipop, and pure white for the background, but you can use whichever colours you like. Contrast is good. I'm going to show you how I've gone around the edges with free motion quilting. But if you're not into free motion, check out the full course, where I'll show you how you can get the same effect with a walking foot. I love my Banana, and I use the number 24 free motion foot for all my free motion projects. Don't forget to lower the feed hooks. On my Banana, there's a handy button on the side, but if you're not sure how to lower yours, check out your machine's manual for instructions. And if you've lost your manual, don't worry, you can usually find them online. Now, even if you're normally a speed demon, it's a good idea to slow down a bit for projects like this one. Unless I'm working on filler, I'll have my machine set to about half speed, which gives me more control and less chance of making a mistake. As with most quilting projects, it's a good idea to start in the centre, so quilt your lollipop first. I've kept things simple and gone around the edges. Next, we're going to quilt the background. I really want my lollipop to pop, so I've made it the star of the block, but if you prefer, you could use a pattern you're more familiar with, like stippling, or just go nuts and create your own. You can get a similar result with a walking foot. Just take your time, make one line, then lift the foot to turn your block. If you'd like more help, then you could enrol in my online lollipops course over at gostitch.com.au. I'll show you how to get creative results that rival free motion quilting with a walking foot. Now that we've completed the quilting, we need to square up our quilt and secure the edges before we add any hand embroidery. This will protect the quilt during the extra handling involved in adding stitches and beads to the surface. You can use your rotary cutter, ruler and mat to give you straight edges and square corners. But if you don't have a rotary cutter, you can just use a normal ruler, a pencil and your own sewing scissors. Once your quilt is squared up, it's a good idea to go around the edges with a line of stitching to keep everything in place. You can go around the edges up to 3 times, or if you prefer, you could use traditional binding or even quilt facing, which is how I finish my professional quilts. I'm a sucker for hand embroidery, and these ice creams are crying out for sprinkles, so let's add some now. You'll need some thread. I've used normal cotton because I'm adding beads, but you could use wool thread, silk threads or stranded cotton and use a straight stitch instead of beads if you prefer. You'll want a pair of embroidery scissors, a needle, and I'm going to add some sweet little bugle beads as my sprinkles. First, tie a knot in your thread and secure it to the back of the quilt, then make lots of little straight stitches with or without beads in every direction. It's as easy as going in and out. The sprinkles look best when they're evenly spaced, but there's no rule book when it comes to sprinkles. Once you're happy, take the thread through to the back and secure it with a couple of extra stitches. Then snip off the rest. The only thing left to do now is to frame our quilt. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed making this little quilt as much as I have. My name's Lucy and you've been watching Go Stitch.